It's like I'm walking on sunshine.
This is DoomCast number 19. It's the 6th day of December 2013. My name is Doug Owen. I'm alongside co-founder of DoomCast and a man, a myth, and the legend, Charlie McGrath. You can follow us on Twitter at DoomCast Show, and you can also go to wideawakenews.com. That's where our interactive chat room during the live broadcast. The show is belated. It's not usual that we do a show on Friday night, but
first one ever.
First one ever. Yeah. Okay, what's up, Charlie McGrath?
Hi, Doug Owen. I'd like to thank you for getting all your technical glitches worked out. And first of all, let me just say this before I bust you too hard on that. You really do the heavy lifting on the technical side of DoomCast. And last night we were running a day late because it was Thursday, and then we tried to run it live. Everybody who's listening now live, it's only because of Doug's hard work. And I don't even know if we have anybody listening live now, but at least through your efforts, we will be set up in the future to run it live and have a live chat room going. So thanks for that.
Yeah, it should be pretty easy. It's hard to nail down the time. I mean, I like it. It's just hard to get people to a certain chat room at a certain time unless we continue to do it to remind people that we're doing it and to kind of be consistent. It's really hard to build
and we're
a live
working
audience.
So hard not to get into that. I know you and I both are. We're working
right.
so hard to not have that, because we already have that commitment that we have to do something at a certain time every day, day after day, for the cause. And this is our little pet thing that we both enjoy doing, and part of the enjoyment of it is the freedom of it.
Sure.
Right? Sure. Podcast aspect of it. So we keep shooting for Wednesday, Thursday, and I'm happy if we get 10 people that want to listen to it live while we're doing it. Then we'll kick out emails or promo bids or whatever. And
yeah, well, if people go to Spreaker.com and just look up DoomCast, or just go to DoomCast.com, it takes you to the Spreaker channel. Follow the channel, and then you'll get email alerts the second the show goes live. And we usually start to stream up 10 to 15, 20 minutes beforehand. So if you're around, if it's convenient, you get it. And then I've been doing a pretty good job at sending the podcast of not only my podcast, but the DoomCast out, usually Saturday morning or Sunday over the weekend, and putting those out for people's commutes Monday morning or any time that they want to listen to it during the weekend. So, and we can always do better, but I think that we've done pretty good. And one of the great things is how malleable the schedule can be. And, we're all hard pressed for time. And so working it into the schedule is something that's not, we don't do it because we're making lots and lots of money. We do it because we actually like sitting down once a week and having this discussion. And so why not record it? And I think a lot of people, looking at some of the comments and the feedback this week, really do like it as well. So with that being said, let's jump right into it. Out of the gate, let's talk about
out of the gates
Nelson.
On this Friday, first Friday edition.
I don't know if it's still timely, but we should talk about Nelson Mandela for a moment. Last night, you had a pretty interesting guest on your show.
Incredible. Diane Everett Snyder, who is absolutely fascinating. If you haven't listened to her, you need to, because the woman has just so much rich history in her life on so many different topics. But she is South African born. She lived there through apartheid, and she got out about the time apartheid ended. But listening to her talk last night, and then after the program, even her and I were talking after my program, and while you and I were trying to get the DoomCast thing figured out, and then several hours into the night after that, man, I tell you what, there is so much happening in the country of South Africa, even to this day, that I had no clue about. I don't know. I mean, you're maybe more aware of this than I am, but like the butchering of farmers inside of South Africa, it's crazy. The violence that's run amok inside the streets of the bigger cities like Johannesburg in South Africa, it is a free for all. And and it was great to get her insight on the conspiratorial side of things that we cover all the time. It was great to get her insight on, what the end all goal was. And of course, you have the same players there, the IMF, you have the World Bank, all sitting there, just sucking up the rich resources of that portion of Africa, which there is. I mean, it's a very, very wealthy nation of 50 million people as far as resources go. But it's a terrifying place to live right now, especially if you're in the 9% of if you're in the 90% of non-African, right? So if you're Indian or Asian or white or whatever, you're an endangered species.
Well, that's one of the things that happened. I was actually talking with a friend of mine, and he relayed a pretty interesting anecdote about a guy he met in the 90s that had fled South Africa, a white guy who had worked at a power plant. And basically what happened was they rounded up all of the white people and fired them and put South Africans, indigenous people, in these positions. Sounds great. You feel good about it. You see the change that you can believe in. And so what ultimately happened was they put people that had no idea what they were doing in charge of this power plant. It crumbled along with all the infrastructure in the local area, and that metastasized, that mentality and that knee-jerk response. Yeah, there's no excuse for apartheid, but the response in the revolutionary acts that they put forward ended up really, I think, helping to decimate the economy and put them into World Bank and IMF receivership. And when you see the fruits that are born today, it is pretty evident. But let's just talk about the man for a moment. Everyone is talking about how he was this human rights champion and really, I mean, almost a saint. And when you look at Nelson Mandela, I didn't know a lot about him. I was in high school during apartheid, and I was familiar. I remember all of the press when he was released from prison, but I didn't really look into his terrorist organization that much. I did a little bit of research into the African National Congress, and these guys, they killed women and children. They bombed buildings. Now, This is a guy that Bill Clinton was tweeting about, saying that he was, one of his personal friends. And, it doesn't surprise me that Bill Clinton has terrorist affiliations and that he
to this day.
And during his regime, let's not forget that Mandela was considered a terrorist and he was labeled a domestic or international terrorist at the time. Right. So, how far does the apple fall from the tree? You look at Bill Ayers. He's a terrorist. He made bombs, and now he is writing books, college books. So the dichotomy of it. We talk about terrorists and fighting terrorism, and we spent upwards of $6 trillion now on the war on terror. And you see all of these guys that are, literal textbook definition terrorists. Nelson Mandela, regardless of all the wonderful things he did, you really need to look into the horrific things that happened under his watch and that he was all about. And he was a commie. I've got this great picture of him, giving the fist right in front of this star banner with a sickle and hammer. You go to blacklistednews.com and look at one of the more controversial articles that a buddy of mine, Lee Rogers, wrote, really highlighting this and how Zionism and many of those people that were exploiting and were behind the profiteering of apartheid really worked through Nelson Mandela to make sure that the power brokers that are extracting minerals and resources and real wealth from that country are the same people prior to that so-called end of apartheid, that revolution.
Yeah.
And so let's not forget this guy was a commie and a terrorist.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? That's one thing that it was nice to have Dinah on, because she grew up in it, right? And she lived there, and she understands it better than I ever will. And and I point blank asked her, what is your overall impression of Nelson Mandela? And she had a lot of nice things to say about. It's kind of like, I guess it would be kind of like somebody talking about Kennedy, right? There's a lot of people that think he was, he was end all beat all, going to debunk, or not debunk, going to expose the New World Order and going to change course. And then you have another group of people that think, no. He was, right in the thick of it. He was, from the Kennedy family, booze runners, and tied in, dad being World War II, the ambassador to the Great Britain, and all tied into the New World Order, and the stories that have come out about him exposing the New World Order can be interpreted in different ways. So I think you get the same thing here. Dinah thought that he absolutely, at least when he spoke, he said the things that inspired the people. But as we've seen, Doug, over and over, this clown we have in the White House now, right? Nobody inspired audiences like he did in 2008, right? Everybody was weeping and falling over, passing out at the orator in chief, right? So I think absolutely Mandela, the momentum, the fact that he spent all those years in prison, that all that momentum was garnered and used in order to affect this change that we saw, right? And is continuing to this day. But you nailed it when you said the people that really matter, the people that really were orchestrating the end of apartheid and the implementation of whatever we call this now, they made damn sure that the same companies, the same corporations, same individuals, the same New World Order elite, the same power brokers, the bankers are the ones garnering the profit of the natural resources of South Africa. So by that, he ended up being nothing more than a figurehead, a token, a great a diversion, or a great relief valve. People can, be pissed at that or not, but that it is what it is. Look at South Africa now. Thousands and thousands of people being butchered and kicked off their farm by this African National Congress, or by their minions out there doing it. Same thing happening throughout the country in the medical fields. Same thing happening throughout the cities. People being carjacked and murdered for a cell phone because there's no standard of living there anymore. The governance is gone. It's all cronyist capitalist system now, where you have a few people like Winnie Mandela, who's just raking in dough, hand over fist, and a few other thugs like that. And the people are just left to suck on it, basically.
Yeah. And that's what's, I think, so disturbing about it, how disingenuous all of this is. And the heroification of a man that I think did a lot of good things and said a lot of the things that we should hear, I guess. Maybe, sure. You know what I mean? He spoke of having, peace and equality. And I like that. And I think that he brought attention through his actions. And being a civil disobedient, being in jail for all of those years is nothing shy of a testament to what he was all about. And he put, so I give him credit for that. That's what I'm trying to say. I give him the accolades that are due. But there's this one police chief, South Carolina sheriff that actually refused to lower the flag for Mandela today. And I thought that was a little bit over the top. And that's where I think my biggest problem lies. That the fact is that he was not necessarily somebody that I want my children to worship. I think that they should respect him, but there's plenty of people that do respectable things. And so if we're talking about the man and his political ideology, I've got some issues with that. So
is it tradition in our air quote tradition to half-mast a flag for an international figure? I mean, I thought that was an American thing.
Yeah, well, I thought so as well. Yeah, I mean, I think that it's very telling when you hear people like Barack Obama saying how much Nelson Mandela had influenced him, because it's, beyond the actions. I mean, his books, his political philosophy, his writings say a lot, and his actions ultimately say a lot more about him and his legacy, I think, than what the mainstream media is portraying. And that's going to be the legacy. I mean, we're still grandizing people like Christopher Columbus and other people that St. Patrick.
Well, the winners certainly write the history, right? So right. If we look at who's benefiting from the wealth of that nation, that is who's going to write the epitaph of Nelson Mandela that gave him this free system or free society they have now, and it'll be glorified as that. Now, how many people in our nation now know that South Africa is in turmoil and chaos like it is? How many people know that people are being butchered all the time for just because they're not part of the right clique, or they're not part of the right, or their family didn't come from the right tribe? It's a bloody mess over there right now. So, if you look at the end result of what happened with the end of apartheid, and this new ushering in of free South Africa, I mean, it's a mess. It's a complete and total mess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, if you look at Liberia, I mean, that's the first example of U.S. interventionism in creating a new republic under our model. And part of that, you were saying that you're watching some video about taking, the slaves back to Africa or something.
Somebody put that into the chat room last night, and it was hilariously. First of all, it was done as a joke. It was a hidden camera deal where two dudes are standing by this dilapidated boat, and they have a hidden camera, and they're offering boat rides back to Africa. And the guy gets his ass beat, and if you watch the video, you'll see why, because they're just rude, crude, and it's all about shock value. And but anyway, it was a little bit funny to watch him get his ass beat.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Who doesn't enjoy watching somebody who deserves to be beaten?
Well, they could have let the guy that they cornered. It was a black guy, and they would only pick, if it was a white girl and a black girl walking down the beach together, or a black guy and a black girl, they would be hardcore racist and use all kinds of racist innuendo and that kind of thing. And they should have saw the ass whooping coming, because they picked a dude who looked like he could wade through both of them in about 2 seconds, and they just laid it on heavy. And they should have stopped a little bit before they said, "Hey, this is all a joke. Bad taste. Hidden camera right there. Don't kill me."
No, I mean, just because it's you have a hidden camera doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to be beat up.
Yeah.
I always wonder about those shows, where they scare people or they do all these shocking things. How many times does that guy not do what you expect and grab somebody and slap the heck out of them? I think that too. When you see like scare tactics and crap like that, part of me think that a lot of that's got to be staged, because you do that to some of my friends, some of the people I know, especially in this community, you sneak up on them in their car or whatever, you're going to get shot. Yeah.
And it's amazing that doesn't happen more often.
Well, it's definitely shocking that these things happen.
You took a little heat. You said, for one of your articles. Is that the one you were referring to, where you called him a communist?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And also he was a huge abortion advocate. Are you familiar with this? Did you know?
No,
that?
Not really.
Well, yeah. Okay. So basically, he was this promoter for women of all ages to be able to have an abortion in South Africa, unlimited abortions. And I got to show you this picture. Here we go, just so you can see it, so you get a kind of idea of who the U.S. is bowing down to. You got to wonder, or at least bowing our flag down to. But anyway, I mean, he put forward this legislation back in '96. There was this Times article that highlighted it, and here's just a little quote. The bill will cancel any existing law allowing abortion only in the case of rape, incest, immediate danger to the mother's mental or physical health. Under the new law, women and girls will be entitled to a state-financed abortion on demand during the first 12 weeks of pregnancy if they have no private medical insurance, and subject to widely defined conditions for a further 8 weeks. Despite strong protest by opposition parties and interest groups, the law gives children the sole right to decide whether to have an abortion. I mean, we're kind of already there with the day after pills, which are ineffective, fat girls. Just letting you know. Did you see that? Yeah. Well, the day after pill only works for skinny little women. So if sorry, Americans, it's only going to work. I'm just kidding.
So I got a picture here. He's standing here pumping his fist with the hammer and sickle star behind him. I don't know who the dude is to his left.
Yeah, I mean, I bet you he himself would be pretty surprised that the U.S. flags were lowered at half staff for him today.
Well, they are. There's a lot.
Maybe the Russians are as well. Maybe the Chinese. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe he's the symbol moving forward. We all are gonna, fall in line, because we're gonna use this sensationalism of the death of Nelson Mandela, 95 years old.
Yeah.
How about he was an old guy that went to jail for what he believed, and A lot of people believe he had a lot of good core values, but at the end of the day, just like we see time and time and time again, it doesn't really matter the individual, what his internal beliefs are. It doesn't matter if he spills them. He's somebody like a Ron Paul that is truly, I believe, somebody who wants to return to a constitutional republic and has the values that I share and that I look up to. But inevitably, it seems that with our system, our corrupt system, that individual, that idea, that momentum is always co-opted and turned into something ugly and something that benefits the same exact people in the system that they're trying to overthrow in the first place. And I think that's the lesson here that I take away from Nelson Mandela, is that that he did suffer for what he believed in. He might have had values and beliefs that he thought that wanted to better his people, wanted to better his nation. But at the end of the day, the same scumbags that put him in jail, that were profiteering off that nation before, are the same scumbags we're profiteering now after his death. But we have this this relief valve, this pressure relief valve of Nelson Mandela that we can point to and say, look at all of the good things that have done.
Oh yeah, and he's a nice distraction. They can, put a lot of attention and media focus on his life. And oh my God, I mean, they have infographics for him now. Of course, anything that's jumped the shark has to have an infographic.
Yeah.
I don't want to diminish, him as an individual and a person. And I believe that you can believe whatever you want, and that's your right. And, I mean, compared to what maybe you had, maybe communism is a little bit better. I mean, I don't know. I mean, apartheid, enslavement, or communitarianism.
Well, I get this discussion quite often, and like Eric Lovely, my friend Eric Lovely,
right,
who he hosts on Thursday nights, and he's really into the sovereign movement, and he comes across a little harsh at times. But something that him and I have talked about for years, and he nails 100%. I think he's 100% correct every time we get into this debate, or he gets into a debate with a listener. You can't put your hope and your faith and your heart into an icon or into a hero or into an individual. You have to be self-educated. You have to be willing to stand up for yourself and not put all your eggs in a figure, because they're so, especially now, right? It seems they're so easy to take these figures or this icon and turn it into nothing more than a golden calf, right? That they'll do anything that calf has to say. And meanwhile, we'll keep marching down the same path towards totalitarianism.
Well, I don't care what your political message is and how bad the current system may be. If you kill women and children,
yes,
to further your political agenda, you're a terrorist. Okay, so let's not pretend that we're fighting terrorism if we're grandizing a terrorist. I mean, that's just, when I look at it, that's kind of what I come to. It just doesn't make any sense. It's illogical.
It's the same logic that we use.
It's these kind of stupid things that you're going to have to explain to your children. Why is it like that, Dad? Well, let me explain to you, son. It's because people are insane and have no context and don't really have any historical references to really base their decisions upon. And that's why they decide, we love the man, we love the commie, we love the pro-abortionist, because that's what they're saying. I mean, when you look at Bill Clinton, when you look at Barack Obama, what do you think it is that they admire so much? That he would kill women and children, that he was brutal? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what it is that,
that's the whole point of, if you don't think for yourself, and if you let somebody get to that deity status in your mind, you are going to be pimped. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you're going to put all your faith, all your trust, and all your belief into an individual, and take whatever they say carte blanche as being the truth, and whatever they do is an action that's better for you and your country, you are going to be hoodwinked and disappointed. What about all these people that thought Obama was going to end the wars? What about all these people that thought Obama was going to create jobs, or Obama was going to stop this corruption in Wall Street, between Washington, D.C. and Wall Street? What happened to it? I mean, are these people now in the streets protesting? No, in a lot of cases, Doug, they still follow this guy because they sold out. Hook, line, and
don't want to be
sinker
wrong. They just don't want to be wrong. People don't want to be wrong, and people, more than they don't want to be wrong, they don't want to change their minds. Yeah, and I'm one of these guys. I'm more than willing to go out on a limb. I try to, put myself in other people's, position and see through their eyes, their situation, why it is that they believe what they do. And I'm always constantly, you know, making sure that, or at least trying my best to make sure that I'm correct. And if I'm wrong, and I'm wrong often, if you're not thinking, if you're not wrong, you're not thinking.
Yeah. No,
If you
I
don't
agree
make
with that.
mistakes, you're not working. It's just one of those things. And so, people that, but the majority of people that I think are politically active and politically aware, they grab onto a team and they run behind it. I mean, there's countless examples. It expands, it transcends beyond politics as well, into religion, into into our day-to-day lives.
It does, and it's convenient. It's convenient. It's convenient to believe that if I vote neocon or if I vote Republican, then my best interest is going to be served.
You're
And
part of a
it's
team
work.
now. You're not silly. You're not going to be castigated. You're not going to be shunned or ostracized from the group. You're going to be embraced. Okay, you can be a Republican, or you can be a Democrat, or even a Libertarian. You can get into a political philosophy and find other people that agree with you, and that's what people like about it. It's just like team sports.
Yeah.
I'm on
Yeah.
this team. These are my brethren.
That's exactly right. That's
So-
exactly right. That mentality, that herd mentality. They wrote a book on investing that is the animal spirit, right, of the economy. It is a herd mentality, and it's dangerous. I mean, if you're letting somebody else think for you, you're going to probably get at the end. You might, and that's the tough thing with the agenda, right? Because the agenda spans generations. It spans generations, and it hands down power, stays in the same family, stays in the same social stratus. But there is generations of people that lived through this American dream, and they have a pretty good life. They live, they work, they
They're going
retire.
to be rationed. They're going to be
What's-
put on the Obamacare.
If they're lucky, they're going to be dead in that good life before things hit the fan. If you're lucky,
really
listen,
good,
listen,
though?
America, if you're lucky, you were born in 1930, right? And then you're going to die before we go off the cliff in 2000 and whatever, because you lived a life where you probably were able to partake in the fruits of this system, which is a United States controlled domination of currency and military power around the world. You were able to live with the benefit of Empire America. It's the rest of us who are going to live through what's coming next. The standard of living has reached a peak, I believe, in the United States. From here on out, things get a little dicey.
Yeah, and it depends on what side of the line you are on in any respective country. It doesn't matter where you're at. Some people are going to be doing pretty good. Just like in any depression, there's always people on one side of the table, and you hopefully out there listening, myself and you as well, Charlie. I hope that we are on the right side of the table. And some of the things that we are privy to and the insight that we have pays dividends. I hope that's the idea. But when it comes to the sheeple and herd mentality, one of the things I think that we really have a problem doing is just having a conversation. The art of conversation is lost, and people are just so wound up. The media and the social architects have people so controlled and so worried. You know what the biggest concern is for most professionals at this time of the year, other than all of the other crap that they have to deal with and making money?
My mind's in the Black Friday mode here, so I'm probably not right, but go
You're
ahead.
pretty close.
Yeah.
It's political correctness during Christmas. Can you say Merry Christmas? I don't know.
Oh,
Should you
that's
be
right.
able to say it? So anyway, funny enough, maybe not so funny, but kind of sad. This is the season. This is the season for the banning of the Christians. The Christmas trees, and for all of the people out there, even the logical atheist types, wink, wink, that gets all upset about Christmas. So, Rick Perry, you're familiar with Rick Perry,
Oh yeah,
right?
I know Rick.
Okay, so
Me and Rick go way back.
yeah, he was a Republican contender. Not much of one. Not much of a debater or
He looked like a
orator.
president, right? He had nice hair.
Yeah, but he they let Bush slide. Like, hey, he's from Texas. The economy's doing well. He knows some oil people, but you just can't run that same. I mean, he's George Bush. Yeah.
You know what? It's bad to say that George Bush pulled it off better than Perry. I think Perry had that's your state, man. I mean, he's still the governor, isn't he?
Yeah. Oh, the governor. Yeah. The governor isn't going anywhere. Oh no.
Is he a buffoon in the eyes of Texans? Because that's how he came across nationally.
No, but the majority of people in this state just hate Democrats, and it's like they'll vote for Rick Perry as opposed to anyone else that is a Democrat, and so whoever the it's really just the Republicans voting in the governor, really.
Other than border squabble, other than the obvious tension that's in South Texas there, Texas as a whole is doing pretty dang good. They do have a lot of energy resources there, and it's a gateway, and it's a lot of ship
we
oil
got tons
coming
of
in.
Practically slave labor coming right over the border from Mexico.
Yeah.
I mean,
So it's easy to point at the graphics and put Rick Perry's picture by it and say, look at our economy rising higher and higher and higher. It's not a surprise that in a nation where not every state has the same infographics, as you will, that Rick Perry's holding on to his seat of power there.
Yeah, well, I mean, he just has to convince the other Republicans that he'll win as long as he's the head honcho, head Republican. I don't know if I think he's going to step down from his throne this year. He's saying that he's not going to. Some are speculating that he may try to run for president again. And if they do run him, then that just means that the Republicans are trying to lose, and that way we can get Hillary in, or they're going to run a dud. They're going to run a dead horse and let Hillary, who really is, the neocon Republican extraordinaire, they're going to let her take the reins. But anyway, I wanted to talk about his Merry Christmas bill. Okay, so there's a school that's banning Christmas trees. Okay, and that's pretty standard operating procedure, sadly enough. We're so offended by, and I'm not a Christian, okay? I'm not a practicing Christian, but to be upset about Christmas trees, or going one step further in Frisco, which is right near Dallas, they're banning kids from wearing Christmas colors and actually saying Merry Christmas. Rick Perry has a solution for the Sharia law pushers and the politically correct a-holes. And he came up with, and this is probably one of the few things that I would actually think is, I would attribute a positive connotation along with for Rick Perry, and that's his Merry Christmas bill. He banned people from saying that this is illegal, and it protects anyone. It nullifies any legal risk of saying Merry Christmas or having Christmas iconography in public. So you cannot go after anyone. You have you have a license to say Merry Christmas in Texas. You have the license. You have the legal background.
Oh my God, it'll be chaos. It'll be anarchy. There'll be Merry Christmases everywhere.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing. I don't think it's mostly these self-loathing Christians that are so scared to say anything. Oh, we don't want to be sued.
It's just excuse me. It's just I'm so disconnected because I don't get it. I don't see it. I don't live in a big urban area.
Thank goodness. That's happening in Texas. So when you say, oh, well, that's not happening in Texas, that's just
but it ain't happening in Austin, is it? Well, Austin's kind of lefty, isn't it?
It's the leftist city that you're gonna find.
All right. Well, let me tell you what. It ain't happening out in Podunk, Texas, where they're riding bulls on the weekend and watching football every Saturday night. It's happening in the big urban areas, which I don't see it. I don't see it because I don't live.
I went to a graduation and they had a prayer. They had a prayer, and the principal quoted scripture, and I was like, "Whoa!" And this is how I've been conditioned. I was like, "Uh oh,
It can hit the fan now."
Oh yeah, I thought I was just waiting to hear something the next day. I thought that the shoe would drop.
What is? I don't want to get into a big long religious debate, but I've never heard the argument on why it's offensive. Why is it offensive to say Merry Christmas or Jesus or talk about Christmas as the birth of Jesus and celebrating? How is that offensive to anybody? Is it offensive Muslims?
I think that
Jews? What?
the idea is that, church and state, we want the separation of that. And so people believe that maybe
You can't have it in the courthouse. You can't have it in the
that dogma is oozing in. And so you look at, well, and in this country, especially in states like Texas, you have a lot of blue laws, these ridiculous laws that are arbitrary that people push forward, so that you can't buy liquor on Sundays, or you can't buy alcohol at certain times. And of course, on Sundays, you can't buy beer before 12. Got to go to church first. Can't drink before church. You can drink after church. You can get wasted with the rest of the Southern Baptists, but you're not going to get wasted before, unless you just, had a little foresight and bought alcohol the day before. Why?
Unless you're where my sister lives in Alabama, then you just go out in the coulee. You hunker down in the coulee around your steel, and you go ahead and you have a little partake of a little early morning moonshine.
Really?
Yeah, I'm just saying it could happen. I'm not calling her out on that.
No, that's pretty cool. They even have TV shows about moonshiners. I'm like, how can you really be a real moonshiner and have a TV crew? Aren't you going to get busted? Aren't the local cops going to recognize you from the TV show?
Again, I think even the reality stuff's 99% staged.
Oh, Duck Dynasty, it's completely fake. And of somebody who's close to me, I had to convince them that Duck Dynasty is fake. And I'm like, you believe that 9/11 was an inside job. You believe that most of the news, media, and events that we are affected by are psychological, trauma-based mind control. But you think Duck Dynasty is real? I'm like, don't you think it's just really coincidental that every one of these scripts and every one of these stories seems like it's written by interns? Doesn't that... Did that clue you in that they always end with some happy ending? And I know why people are in love with Duck Dynasty. It's because there's good old-fashioned values. People are like, I don't know why they like it. Because people are tired of, dirty, smut, ridiculous TV, and they've gone to the edge. They've gone past the edge. Okay, they've gone way past the edge, and at some point, people are like, I need some silly sitcom, good, heartwarming family comedy. Here's something that was pretty sad, though. I saw that recently in our local area. I live in Round Rock, Texas. They had Duck Dynasty Day at the schools where everybody was wearing camo. And I was like, is this even real? Okay, we don't have days for Magellan. Easy. We don't have. I mean, we have Martin Luther King Day, but I mean, we don't have days for a lot of people that deserve days, and a lot of things that. Constitution Day, the Bill of Rights Day, not so much Duck Dynasty Day all day long. I guess it's harder to get.
I don't know. Should I be embarrassed to say or proud to say that I've never sat through an episode of it. I've seen it on before, but I've never sat through an episode. I know it's what the number one movie or number one program ever. I mean, it's bigger than.
Is it?
Oh yeah, it's huge. It's huge. But the whole reality TV thing is absolutely everywhere. But look. You have how many hundreds and hundreds of channels, right? And you got to fill them with something. And, if it isn't opening up a storage shed and bidding on the contents inside or shooting people on the border of Texas or whatever the reality show of the day is, they need to keep searching for things to fill the air with. So
I'm just waiting for the electrician reality show. I mean, they've got, gator hunters, and they've got like mundane businesses and business owners. You're like, really? This is the TV show? I guess Pawn
Shop seems kind of mundane to me, but that's a really popular genre.
At least, you're getting some historical perspective. That's the only thing that makes it interesting. You get a little history lesson as they look at some weird item. I get that. I mean, but some of the stuff.
Well, you know what? I let you that I was approached recently, and I didn't tell you I was going to talk about this tonight, but since we're on that topic, I was approached recently, as you well know, and I did an interview. For potentially a reality show, and it's in this kind of in this genre. It's more on the lines of targeted people who are targeted, be it by government or by gangs or whatever. And so I'll be really interested to see where this process leads. And if it does get to the point where I'm involved in it as a potential host, I'd be really curious to see how staged and how ridiculous, and if it is, I'll pull the pin on it because I don't want any part of that. I mean, if it's actually exposing things that I believe are important, then I'm all for it. But
okay,
here we go.
I'm going to say this: if Jesse Ventura set the bar for conspiracy
Yeah, that's a bad deal.
Slash truther TV shows, whatever you want to call it. One where he has to meet with people in the bunker or in some airport lounge and get. Yeah, you can't go.
Okay,
I don't think.
Okay, Doug. I want to send you to Venezuela.
How do I say this? I don't know if you can go much lower than that. So only can your show be better. I think ultimately.
It's a long way from a show. It was, but I am entertaining the process.
Well, you were almost a doomsday prepper, weren't you?
Yeah, I was contacted early on when that started, and it was the production company.
So how they? I want to hear this. How did they find you? How did they know you were?
No idea.
Doomsday?
I have no idea how either one of them found me. I'm assuming it's through the website or through the YouTube channel or whatever.
Yeah.
But on the Doomsday Prepper one, it was just in this community, and somehow my name ended up in some producers. And this is what these people do. These casting directors, these casting producers. They filter in names, more names, and then start trying to get people lined up. Now on that instance, it was, I didn't want anything to do with it, and I wouldn't even to this day, because it was really clear. It was, they wanted to talk to me about my prep, and it would have been, a segment of a program, and I'm like, no thanks, I don't want anything to do with that. But here are some names, and I gave him a few names of people that are in the prepping world.
Yeah, because Doomsday Preppers is really just hoarders for people that believe that there's going to be, some kind of impending doom in the very near future, and most of them are prepping for really ridiculous reasons. That's what it's not because they want to be prepared. It's because I had this dream that I was sexually abused by an alien, and I think he's coming back to capture me. So I'm living in this hole, and you're like, wow.
Well, and even if it isn't that, even if there are people who are prepping for legitimate reasons that I find, or maybe even you find legitimate, I've never sat through. I've sat through it and felt empathy. I guess I
feel
felt
bad for the people. You're like, you're crazy.
I do.
Yeah.
I really do, because I'm like, this guy, this lady, whatever. They're doing what they think is right, and regardless of, I think it failed in some. I think initially it was meant to be, we're going to show you some real wackos, but in a lot of cases they come off as, wait a minute, these guys aren't that, they're not that wacko. But unfortunately, the majority of the people in the country that we consider to be tuned in, plugged into pop culture, they look at these guys and think they're just whack, they're crazy.
Yeah.
And that handwriting was on the wall from the beginning. On this one, right from the get-go, when the casting director got a hold of me, the first thing I said to her was, what do you want my role to be in this? I don't want to be a segment of, talking about RFID implants. That's not what I'm going to do. And she goes, no. We have a few people in mind in like a hosting role, in multiple different program, I guess, pilots that are scheduled to be made. So it would be in a hosting type role.
Mark of the Beast. Dun 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 dun.
If it was, how could I do that? I couldn't. I mean, I'm very curious, Doug. I'm very curious to see how this process folds out. If nothing else, right, I'll have that much.
You
more
have great stories for the podcast.
That's right. I'll have experience to see how these are done. So if somebody asks, are these all BS? We're talking about, is our reality shows BS? Well, I'll be able to have a little more insight to say, yeah, they are, or well, in some cases they are, some they're not. There are some good, the Ventura thing was ridiculous, right?
Oh, that was my point. It's not to go after Jesse Ventura. I mean, I don't know the guy, but he seems like a nice enough person. But it was, how everything was couched and how it intentionally makes people that, question these very same things that Jesse is questioning seem, how do you put it? Insane, nuts. Crazy, possibly, needing a straitjacket immediately, maybe even dangerous. That's what you get from it.
Certainly more. There are more informed individuals on every topic that he ever investigated, at least that I saw. There was at least a handful of individuals that I would have considered to be far more in the line of being an expert than whoever they spoke to.
Oh, yeah.
Right. It was, I mean, they went through the same Rolodex you and I had for our programs, right? They went through the same dudes. Oh yeah, this guy will say something cool, so we'll put him on for a few minutes. And then, so I don't think it was very in depth. I think it was more will shock a little bit. And
Well, they don't want it. They don't want some credible, person on there that's making a very compelling case. They want somebody that's like, I think the heart machine is making me crazy, and I've been going wild and having weird dreams, and I see things in this. You want that guy because he has no credibility, and that was why I thought, it was really, I was more bothered by all the people that were like, this is great, this is really helping the movement. I'm like, maybe a bowel movement, maybe, helping.
Well, and that is one thing approached on this one, which is going to be the premise of people that are targeted, is the premise of this potential program. The names they gave me on people that they were looking to be interviewed were legitimate. I mean, they were folks that I believe really make a decent case for why they are being targeted and how they're being targeted. So at least on the onset, like I said, very, very early on in this process, but at least from the onset, it seems a little bit more organic in nature, maybe, I guess.
All right. Well, we're talking about conspiracies. Let's just get into Sandy Hook. I got a couple clips here I want you to listen to, and I want to get your take. Here we go. Right. As I say that, it's going to load up.
Wow,
Come on,
what
Windows.
What a jump.
I know. I was totally had to set up.
All right. Do you hear any police officers at this time, Rick?
I'm hearing talking. I'm not seeing anybody, but I'm hearing talking.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm sitting in the middle of this corridor.
Entering the south east of the school, would you?
Custodian.
1603 entering southeast portion of the school. 945.
Okay, so he's calling for the custodian. I don't understand that.
Custodian.
All right, tell him you're on the phone with me.
I'm on the phone with dispatch. Victims in the building.
How many?
How many? 2 down.
Okay. Is it safe?
Yep.
So
2 guys.
All right. Hey, that's fixed. Would you like to sit? Can you check the inside of the school as well?
I didn't see anybody going there.
All right, so anyway,
Rick,
that's just one of many of the people that.
So wait a minute. Break this down, because you just dropped that on me here. This is an individual inside Sandy Hook calling 911.
Yeah, this is one of the released audio recordings from the dispatch, 911 dispatch. And notice he's totally calm. He's not really that excited. I talked about that yesterday, and I've listened to almost an hour of these, and I've clipped a few, and I took a few from the internet, and there's at least 5 or 6 examples where people are saying that there's 2 people inside. How many shooters? 2. Now, here we go. Here's another one.
Okay.
I'll give you one more.
Newtown 911, what's the emergency?
This is the state police. I got a victim from the shooter here.
Yep.
She's been shot once in the foot.
She's been shot once in the foot?
She's in playground number...
Okay. All right.
Room number 1.
Room number 1?
Yep.
1 shot in room 1.
Now listen to this lady. She's been shot in the foot. She's not screaming. She doesn't sound panicked. She just sounds calm. Yeah, I've been shot in the foot. Okay, so maybe maybe I'm just jumping the gun here, but listen to the rest of this. Go ahead.
Good.
All right, hold it. Yeah.
To arriving on scene.
What?
How close are you guys?
Female shot in the foot. You got a female party shot in the foot.
Yep, she's in.
Advise ambulance.
Right by the playground, room number 1.
Oh, I know that. Okay. Where are you? Are you okay right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Where's room 1 in the school?
Facing the playground.
Where are you?
Facing the playground.
On the playground?
Facing towards the playground.
Okay. Are you safe right now?
I think so. My classroom door is not locked.
Okay. Is there anybody that can lock the classroom door without being safe?
No.
Safe to do so. Okay. All right. Just try to stay where you are. Okay. Is there any way?
Yes. There's children in this room too.
Okay. Try to apply pressure. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks,
okay.
lady.
We have people coming. Okay. All right.
It's just a hype lady. Here it goes.
Is there any other teacher with you in there, or is just students?
No, there's 2 other adults in the room with me.
Okay. All right. Are they right next to you, or where are they in the room?
No, they're over on the other side of the bookshelf.
Okay. All right. Are you okay right now?
Okay, actually, I got to grab the other one. But this is... So she's saying, yes, she's been shot in the foot, and this guy is on a rampage. He's killing and executing children. And while all of this is going on, you don't hear any gunshots. Yeah, I've been shot in the foot. Yeah, yeah. Where are you at school? Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Very calm. Very, very.
Oh man, and there's just
calm.
I'm really upset because I have this other clip. It's somewhere here, and I think I might have.
I find
chunked it.
Go ahead.
No,
I'll
just add it. I'll just add it to the show, into the notes there at DoomCast showed or DoomCast.com.
Well, I find it very eerie, you know, that first of all, that this lady's not in shock, right? She's just been shot. She's shot in the foot. I didn't hear you had said, did she mention that she saw 2 shooters?
No, that's the clip. I feel like I here. Yeah, let me look here. I've got it somewhere. I thought that this was it. I might have labeled it incorrectly. I'll have to.
These along with, you know, the clips that you were talking about last night, and then the ones you just played, where it's just this uber calm. Look, and I know they're professionals and they're teachers, and you know they're trying to put on a face for these kids. But give me a break, man. When you got kids being murdered, and you just got shot yourself, and this chaos and carnage, and there's sounds of gunfire, shotgun fire, pistol fire, whatever the case was, going on in the schools, your hallway, or in the hallways of your school, you've got to be going a little bit nuts, right? How are they maintaining this level of calm? This coupled with, Doug, the interviews that we all partook in and we all watched after these events of what were obvious staged individuals going before the CNN cameras, turning on the tears when they knew the cameras were working.
Right, the dad.
It really seems odd. It really seems odd.
Yeah, I've got this. It's making me. Oh well.
I was hoping you'd blather for enough there to get you time to.
You know, yeah, I'm looking through it. I've got so much of this. I've literally got hours, and I took a bunch of notes on this. But basically, you know, she's been shot. He's executing children, and nobody makes mention of that. Nobody makes mention of the fact that there's you know, this atrocity happening. I got shot in the foot by some guy. Yeah, I don't know where he's at. And there's 3 adults there that are just sitting in the room, apparently with a police officer. So it's very, very disturbing, to say the least.
In any of it, was there a timeline? Was there like this was you were able to establish by listening to these that it was hour after the event and they were all still locked down, or was it in the midst of the carnage? You know?
Yeah. Let me see.
I mean, because what it sounds like now is, if you told me that it was an hour and a half after the last shot was fired, I would probably believe it, because, you know, they don't sound like they're in the midst of a gunfight.
Not at all. Here's one more clip here. Let me try this one out. I think that this is a custodian.
All right. What about the students in the front of the building?
Dude, everything's locked up as far as I know. I'm not in the front.
All right. You're in lockdown?
Yeah, they're in lockdown.
Did you see anything out the window?
No, it's still going on. I can't get over there.
Okay, I don't want you to go over there. I want to know what's happening with the students, though, along the front corridors. This is in the front parking lot?
Yes. I'm not in the front. I'm actually down the other part, but I'm close.
Okay. Do you see anything or hear anything more?
I keep hearing shooting. I keep hearing popping.
All right, Jen, let's get one caller. I'll take my caller. You. All right, now who am I talking with right now?
It goes to the Rick.
Pardon me? What's your name?
Rick Storm.
Rick Storm, all right. Rick, what is your position with the school?
I'm acting head custodian today.
Okay.
Newtown, what's the address of the school?
12.
This guy sounds like a total actor.
Something's happening.
Okay. All right. Now, when you say the school is in lockdown,
All doors are locked. Kids are in classrooms.
okay. So at this time, you're defending in place.
Excuse me?
Okay. At this time, all the rooms are locked.
Yes.
Okay. Did you see anything out front before this started?
No. I was out all morning.
Where are you in the...
Okay, so the gym teacher told me they saw shadows going past the gym.
Just now?
Yes.
All right. Now, are they running on the outside or the inside?
I would say that was the outside.
So there's people running around the building, according to the
shadows.
Yeah.
There's still shooting going on. Please.
All right. What about injuries at this?
Please. I think this guy's an actor. It just sounds so weird because he's like, please, I'm the acting head custodian. Really? Okay. Yeah. You're just there for the day? I don't know. but I think this is where he says there's two guys.
Time.
Excuse me?
What about injuries at this time?
I don't know of any injuries right now.
Okay.
Yeah, we got him. They're coming at me down Grand Point.
Jen, I need you to call the state police. Just.
This is
It's still going on.
Oh man, it's in here somewhere. I've got a bag of these things, but the custodian is the one who identifies them. Rick Storm is his name. He's the guy that found, and he's an interesting character. You look at him and you wonder, I wonder if he's really the acting head custodian there. I don't know. I just think that
this is the guy who in some part of these clips, and you'll put it into the after or into the link, but he no doubt says he sees more than one.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, he sees two. He said there's how many of them are there? There's two. So, you know, and here's to say, I mean, I guess that's not necessarily the smoking gun. People see things, you know, I ask people all the time in my job line, and this is for something that's, you know, not, a tragedy, but I ask people about, well, what happened here? You know, when their air conditioning goes out. Oh, well, I heard this pop, I heard this bang, and then there was this, and then you talk to the other lady, she saw something completely different, and you know, you
call them on the carpet, don't you?
Oh yeah, this system hasn't worked in months, and nobody's been here, and so you know, you just realize that, and not to give any credence to those out there that are trying to manipulate the story and to keep us in the dark, but you know, you can get a lot of really, really bad information from firsthand accounts and what people think they remember.
And let's face it, I mean, you know, at the end of this, there's you know, obviously a tragedy, and I am blown away at the calm nature of how these folks sound on a 911 call.
They're all like that. Hey, yeah, there's somebody killing kids. You're just like, okay, that's really odd that they would be so
really creepy,
docile and calm during this.
Yeah, you know, unless they were whispering because they didn't want to be. I don't know. It just nothing about from the beginning of this event till now even. Nothing about it seems.
I mean, so much of it's been staged. I mean, when you look at the B-roll that Anderson Cooper and CNN kept showing over and over again of these cops that were running in, they were storming the school. That's not Sandy Hook, and so it's not to say, well, that's a grand conspiracy. No, it shows you that number one, the people in mainstream media do not care about accuracy. They do not care about giving you the real story, and they'll just grab some infographics from their bank there, and just, you know, we need a cop running into a school.
And they'll wait for they'll feed the official version out immediately. They want to be the first to feed whatever AP, UPI, or Reuters or whatever comes out and says it is what happened. Whatever the official government story is what they're going to run immediately.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I'll find that and I'll add it to it. But, you know, I don't know if that necessarily, it's not the one smoking gun, you know, somebody saying that they saw two people, but it does show you that there's a lot of things that, I don't know, that are inconsistencies. And I don't understand why they wanted to keep these calls, you know, so secret and from the public, from journalists, because they're not that shocking. You know, that's what we told. Oh my God, it's so horrific. So I mean, just the initial lies about what we would hear, completely inaccurate. You listen to it, doesn't sound very scary to me. These people, I mean, this is like they're on their afternoon lunch. Yeah, you know,
it sounds worse. I mean, it sounds like they're all on, you know, third level of Prozac.
Yeah, and the gunshots are slow. I mean, is this guy just going through one? Okay, I'm killing you, kid. Two, I'm killing you. Because all of this was supposed to happen and the timeline is completely inconsistent. The timeline doesn't make sense on any level. None of the things jive. So this is how bad the reporting and how the mainstream media has perverted all of this.
And then you got to look at the end result. I mean, look at from the end of this event to now. You know, this event has been pimped out as the you know, well, it was certainly trying to be used as a catalyst to implement all kinds of hardcore gun control from the second this happened up until it kind of all just fell apart. And as you probably want to talk about a little bit, with an event that had ended up being canceled because of lack of support.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, people don't. Unfortunately, they've manipulated this whole event and politicized it to the point that people just don't care, and people don't want to. We already had the big concert benefit, and almost none of that money went to the victims. Or, excuse me, that was Superstorm Sandy. I'm sorry. So you have these big,
they were still paraded out. They were still paraded out on the morning talk shows and kids of Sandy Hook.
They've been played out. They've been overused. Yeah. They've been, drug out one too many times. One too many parents have said that we need to, take guns from everyone, which is just ludicrous in my.
And who knows? Maybe it's a grand play, to desensitize a nation to the violence that's coming.
Well, that violence is here. I mean, go to Chicago. I mean, if you look at the violence, that kind of violence is not atypical. It's pretty typical. I mean, a heavy-handed weekend. That many people die in Chicago.
Yeah.
And it's not to say, well, that doesn't mean that these people's lives don't matter. Absolutely, that doesn't take away from anything. Those individuals and their lives and how precious they are, and these children, but. It shows you how selective we are about, throwing victims into the American people's faces to push forward gun control.
That is true. I mean,
I would go to wouldn't mind going to a concert that benefited any group. Benefited, a good altruistic cause. But, if you're going to tell me that, I need to give up my firearms, that, we need more laws, we need more government. I mean, that's kind of a turnoff.
No doubt about it. And you're 100% right when you say that if you look at violence as a whole compared to violence that is mass shooting, and you see that one's on a decline and one's on an incline, and it wouldn't be the one that most people would think if they followed establishment media. They would think that mass shootings, are an epidemic in this country, and they're not. They're actually going the other way, and they have quite a bit since the mid 90s till now. They've fallen almost off the table, and violent crimes are on the increase that are not labeled as this mass shooting, but these are crimes that happen because of the condition of the economy or drug wars or things like that. That kind of crime, that kind of violence certainly isn't being thrown in our face every other day.
If it wasn't for Nelson Mandela, I bet you a lot of the more liberal, left-leaning people might have noticed this little change. I want to play this before we get out of here.
Okay.
The Washington Times reports that the Pentagon changed its guidelines on drone strikes. Washington Times reporter Christina Wong has more.
Tell them, Wong.
The updated version says military commanders must avoid targeting civilians. And so you have the previous version, which says must ensure that civilians are not made the targets, and then you have simply a guidance to avoid, which is not necessarily ensure that civilians are not made the target. So then you have that sort of subtle loosening of language from in these two.
It's all about the language, changing the words and how much they really do mean. And so now it's not wrong for them to target civilians. They just need to try to avoid targeting civilians. They wouldn't have changed.
The change of the dichotomy there of the words is a big deal.
Big deal.
When you must ensure no civilians are involved, right? You must do all you can to ensure, right? That is way different than we're going to do our best. We're going to do our best, not to kill any civilians. I mean, to me, that's a huge difference.
These little changes, these little things. I mean, this is something that I look at headlines, thousands of them daily. Unfortunately, sometimes. At least hundreds. Most people aren't going to catch that. 99% of the people listening to this podcast, I would say 99% of the public outside of the people listening to this podcast have no idea. I had no idea yesterday that this had happened if it wouldn't have been for this little nugget that was in, I think I found it at Alternet. That's just a WAPO. All of these news sites now just have these really bad pundits. I don't know if anybody's noticed Huffington Post. They've got a bunch of bad pundits. They all are really bad, and they just talk about different articles, and they throw the YouTube video into the news, and then it becomes part of the news, and they're just really, really bad. Really bad.
That's what it's all about. Filling the content, man.
I guess so. You know, you and I should just ramble about an article every day and put it up.
Just randomly grab one out of the newspaper. Bam, there it is.
Yeah, that would work. Like, you know, this child suspect. We were talking about political correctness. I got a couple other of these stupid ones that just makes you want to grab somebody and shake them. Ban on girls' mistletoe sales sparks nationwide orders. Did you hear about this little girl? She was trying to sell mistletoe. She's trying to get some money for her dad. I think she wanted to buy him a present. Let me see. There's an 11-year-old girl who was banned from selling mistletoe in a public park in downtown Portland, Oregon, and now has more orders for packages of the popular holiday plant than she can handle. Quote, "There was never enough mistletoe for this," said Ashton Root, whose daughter, Madison, was ordered to stop when she began selling mistletoe at Skidmore Fountain in downtown Portland Saturday morning. The story behind the aborted enterprise was aired on Portland TV station KATU. National networks and websites carried the news, and by Tuesday afternoon, people all over the country contacted the newsroom trying to buy mistletoe. So the cops told her, "Look, you can't sell mistletoe. Now you can beg for money in Portland, Oregon. That's fine. That's not abnormal. There's a lot of people. It's like Austin, Texas. I mean, everywhere you turn, there's a guy
Portland,
on the corner.
Seattle. Yep.
Yeah, you know they. I don't know. I don't want to talk about.
But it's a feel-good story, though. It feels good. Right? The little girl got her mistletoe sales increased.
No, well, this is what happened. The police banned her from selling mistletoe, and they said you can beg, but you can't sell. You don't have a license. The government, you know, it's a little girl. You know, and you get all these stories about, you know, the police making sure busting lemonade stands. And proudly, I live in a city where I think that you can have a lemonade stand, and I don't think you're going to get shaken down by the police. But don't bet on it. Don't bet on it.
Yeah.
And to just wrap that one up, child suspended from school for miming shooting an arrow.
I saw that.
You get these kids watching Hunger Games and maybe even Peter Pan. I don't know, or maybe Robin Hood.
Or coming home and playing Call of Duty. Come on, man. I mean, hypersensitivity. And that is a direct result of the sensational shock value of this establishment media and an agenda to put that in our face, where you have, you know, kids cutting a 1911 out of their piece of toast, and all of a sudden they're kicked out of school, or memeing an arrow shooting. Give me a break.
Yeah, it's just so sad. And it just, I don't know. I could just have a whole website dedicated to stupid children or stupid laws affecting children.
Stupid children.
Not stupid children. I mean, you can find those too. You can find lots of those.
I like the more men speaking in girl dialect study shows.
Let's talk about it for a moment. You got a minute?
More men in Cal. Well, I gotta open it up. I'm on Blacklisted News here, where I go to all the cutting edge.
Tell me more about it, girl. Mm-hmm. I know you.
More young men in California rise in pitch at the end of sentences when talking. News research shows this process is known as uptalk or Valley Girl speak, and has in the past been associated with young females, typically from California and Australia.
Like, oh my God.
Oh my God.
Oh
my God.
Ooh. Okay.
But now a team says that this way of speaking has become more frequent among men. The findings were presented at a meeting of Acoustical Society of America in California. We found use of uptalk in all our speakers, despite their diverse backgrounds in socioeconomic status, ethnicity, bilingualism, and gender, said this gal, a linguist at the University of California. We believe that uptalk is becoming more prevalent and semantic in its use for the younger generation in Southern California, she added. So there it is. Wait, the team recorded and analyzed the voices of 23 native California aged between 18 and 22. The researchers were therefore not able to infer similar language pattern in older Californians. So there's a story that, you know, the BBC felt important enough to run.
That's because the juice boxes are making us gay.
That's it. You got to suck on the juice box straw.
Yeah,
right.
You know what? I was really trying to.
Yeah, no, but look. There's
road.
edifice there, right? I mean, come on. There's inference, sucking on that juice box straw and uptalking. Oh my God!
Oh my God! Ooh.
This is DoomCast.
DoomCast 19. I can't do it that well.
I can't either. I can't.
Well, you know, I mean, if you're watching TV all day long, I guess you pick that up. I mean, that's what.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, it's like lisps.
We're gonna do down talk. We're gonna do.
Well, the next thing is fake lisps. Oh my God. What are you doing over there?
You're silly, Owen.
Silly. Why are you being so
silly? I'm out of here. This is crazy. My name's Charlie McGrath. My website's wideawakenews.com. My co-founder of DoomCast is Doug Owen, blacklistednews.com. We'll be back next week with DoomCast number 20.
That's right. All right,
so
sorry.
There.
Yeah, we got some outro music here. All right, yeah. DoomCast 20.
Great comments this week. Keep them up. Keep the comments coming.
Craig Simpson, you're the man. Thanks for all the great comments. There's a lot of great people there that have commented. Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, Charlie McGrath, you have a great weekend. Hope to see you back here alive and well for another live edition of DoomCast in the very near future. Totally. Till next time. Bye.
Peace out, Owen.
Bye, Charlie.
This is a weird cast.